This summary of Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us by Daniel H. Pink is about to begin. Enjoy.
Key point 1. Beyond biology, the complexity of human behavior. In a complex society, cooperation became essential for everyone's security and sanity. The biological drive, motivation 1.0, was there, but it was constrained by society's rules and regulations. That way, Mr. A would not end up snatching the food meant for Mr. B and his family. Thus, the need to seek society's rewards and avoid its punishments also became a driver of our behavior. Motivation 2.0. Motivation 1.0 ensured we survived in the wild and evolved to live in viable, self-sustaining communities, while Motivation 2.0 brought us unparalleled economic progress engineered by such innovations as the Industrial Revolution and scientific management. Motivation 2.0 is easily comprehensible, convenient to track, and uncomplicated to impose. But as the dot-com bust and the subprime mortgage crisis at the beginning of the 21st century shows, our society's complexity is outgrowing it for 3 reasons. 1. Open source is the way we now organize what we do. Examples abound around us. Wikipedia, with hundreds of millions of regular users. Firefox browser, with 350 million users. Linux operating system, powering 1 out of every 4 corporate servers. And the Apache web server, which powers 52% of all corporation servers. 2. Irrationally is how we now think about what we do. We used to believe we as economic agents made rational wealth-maximizing choices every time. That changed in 2002 with the award of the Nobel Prize for Economics to Daniel Kahneman, an American psychologist, for his work in demonstrating that we do not necessarily make wealth-maximizing choices every time we act as economic agents, which is an irrational thing for us to do. That, of course, made us question every assumption Motivation 2.0 was based on. 3. Heuristically is how we now do what we do. Work has become more complex. There are now more jobs that is heuristic or creative in nature than algorithmic or routine, and as a result, more interesting and more self-directed. Motivation 2.0 would work perfectly for algorithmic or routine work, but would impair heuristic or creative work. Heuristic or creative work requires another kind of drive, a third drive, the one professor of psychology, Harry F. Harlow, termed intrinsic motivation. The need to perform creative work simply for the intellectual fulfillment one gets for doing it. In that context, the rewards and punishments of Motivation 2.0 become totally irrelevant. Let's explore Motivation 3.0. Key point 2. Motivation 2.0 is ineffective in today's complex world. In Motivation 2.0's context, rewarding or punishing an activity will get you more or less of it, respectively. In Motivation 3.0's world, rewards and punishments cause weird things to happen. The opposite of every intention is what becomes obtainable. Motivation dampens, creativity reduces. Negative behaviors such as selfishness, cheating, addiction, and myopic thinking increase. According to Motivation 2.0, salaries ought to incentivize us to work hard. In Motivation 3.0's world, when a worker, say male, perceives his salary to be inadequate or inequitable, his focus will be on the unfairness of his situation and the anxiety of his circumstances, not on his work. He would have zero motivation to do the work. In The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain said that work is what you have to do and play is what you choose to do. He explained that some wealthy Englishmen drive passenger coaches for fun, but if they were paid, it would feel like work and they wouldn't do it. In other words, rewards can turn an interesting task into unwanted work and in the process, diminish the intrinsic motivation required to do it, and eliminate performance, creativity, and upstanding behavior. This is the Sawyer effect. The Sawyer effect happens for a number of reasons. If-then rewards, if you do this, then you get that, force us to forfeit some of our autonomy. Also, rewards, by their very nature, narrow our focus and concentrate our minds, which are useful when the task at hand is algorithmic or routine in nature, where there is a clearly defined path to the solution. but become an absolute disaster when the task at hand is heuristic or creative in nature. Rewards based on if-then conditions restrict our potential by ignoring the essential elements of real motivation: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Key point 3. Between Type X and Type I behavior, Type I is more desirable. Motivation 2.0's rewards and punishments thrive on Type X behavior, which is driven by external rewards rather than the inherent satisfaction of an activity. In contrast, Motivation 3.0's Type I behavior is driven by intrinsic desires and finds satisfaction in the activity itself. On the other hand, Motivation 3.0's intrinsic motivation thrives on Type I behavior. Behavior influenced more by intrinsic desires than extrinsic ones. It is less concerned with the external rewards to which an activity leads and more concerned with the inherent satisfaction of the activity itself. If our collective goal is to strengthen ourselves, our corporations, or the society we live in, we need to make the transition from Type X to Type I behavior for a lot of reasons. Individuals who are motivated intrinsically tend to achieve more in the long run than those who seek rewards. Hence, Type I's outperform Type X's. Type I behavior is also a renewable resource. It draws on the resources we can easily replenish and inflicts little damage on us. Lastly, Type I behavior enhances overall health. Key point 4. The greater the autonomy we have over our work, the more productive we are at it. The future of work is self-direction, where people are able to do work tasks on their own terms. That happens in a results-only work environment. In a row, there are no schedules. No one needs to show up at work at all. There's only work to do, and the results turned in at agreed timelines shows the work has been done. Jeff Gunther, CEO of Medius, declared his firm a row, and according to him, his workforce's productivity increased. His employees suffered less stress. Plus, Medius has achieved much more than when it was a controlled working environment. His employees are creative types, software or hardware engineers, or user interface designers, and their best work comes when they have autonomy. There is increased employee loyalty, as no one would likely jump ship and forfeit the freedom to do great work on one's terms for a $10,000 to $20,000 raise. We're naturally curious and self-directed, common traits of Type I. It's the nature we were born with, as can be easily confirmed by watching kids at play. As we grew an engaged society, its management-inclined ethos permeated our personalities and rendered us passive and inert. But if we must survive and thrive in the world we live in today, we need to let our Type I versions bubble to the surface again. We need to reawaken the sense of autonomy that makes us curious and self-directed. Key point 5. Mastery at the work we do results from a state of flow. Mastery is the desire to get better at something that matters. It results from engagement and flows, things that happen only in Motivation 3.0 environments. The pursuit of mastery is part of our intrinsic motivation and is essential if one must succeed in today's economy. Today's workplaces lack engagement and disregard mastery. In the U.S. alone, that results in $300 billion in lost productivity, according to Gallup research. So corporations achieve less when they do not create work environments that enable their employees to engage and achieve mastery. In our personal lives, we cannot be fulfilled if we don't achieve mastery. According to prominent psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, autotelic experiences would lead one along on the path to mastery. In an autotelic experience, the activity is its own reward, and time flies by without self-consciousness. The proverbial state of flow is achieved. In a state of flow, the goals are clear and feedback is immediate. The relationship between what one has to do and what one could do becomes perfect. The challenge is not too easy, neither is it too difficult. Body and mind are stretched in a way that the effort itself is the most delicious reward. There's the focus and there's satisfaction. There's autonomy and there's engagement. Mastery results. Try to pick a profession in which you enjoy even the most mundane, tedious parts. Then you will always be happy. Will Shorts. Key point 6. Our lives, either as corporations or as individuals, have no meaning without purpose. A time comes when we have to reckon with our mortality and ask deep questions about meaning, significance, and what we truly want out of life, our purpose. The purpose is the third element of the type I behavior, the first two being autonomy and mastery. An autonomous person striving towards mastery will be highly productive, but will achieve much more if what he or she does is in the service of a cause. We are purpose seekers by default, and according to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, purpose provides activation energy for living. Purpose as a concept is inching closer to the center of the culture because baby boomers are clocking 60 and are beginning to ponder what their lives have been all about. Besides, paid work is declining, while unpaid work is increasing, leading to the idea that volunteering is providing people with unique benefits that paid work cannot. This trend has prompted companies to shift their focus towards more meaningful pursuits, as seen with Tom's Shoes, which donates a pair of shoes to a child in need for every pair it sells. Key point 7. Easy habits for a Type I lifestyle. Take the flow test. Rig your computer or cell phone to beep 40 random times during your working week. Each time your device beeps, drop everything and record what you were doing, how you were feeling, and whether or not you were in the flow. Query the data. Look for insightful patterns. Ask yourself a big question. How would your life be described in one sentence? It will hone you in on your purpose. According to Congresswoman Claire Booth Luce, a great man is a sentence. Abraham Lincoln maintained the unity of the country and emancipated the enslaved individuals. Franklin Roosevelt lifted the nation out of the Great Depression and won a world war. Ask yourself a small question. Did I improve today compared to yesterday? This will help you take steps that will improve your bit by bit, every day until you achieve mastery. Take a Sagmeister. Pause your life and give yourself a 365-day sabbatical. Travel, live in places you've never been to. Experiment with new projects. Create a deck of situation-specific oblique cards, each bearing a question or a statement, to help you out of mental ruts. Have a to-don't list. Engage in deliberate practice to achieve mastery in your vocation. According to psychology professor Anders Ericsson, deliberate practice involves a lifelong effort to improve performance in a specific area. Key point 8. Boost Type I behavior at work with timeouts. Andrew Game and Konstantin Novoselov, both of the University of Manchester, jointly won the 2010 Nobel Prize in Physics for their discovery of graphene, a substance that is one atom thick, but 100 times stronger than steel. The research that birthed the discovery was uncommissioned, unfunded, unsanctioned, and done outside of work hours, Friday evenings. Commissioned work is normal for most organizations. Only a few carve time out, as part of their work culture, for non-commissioned work, usually 20% of commissioned work time, for their employees. But non-commissioned work has been proven to be beneficial to both the organization and its employees. It allows innovation, through experimentation, to thrive. For example, Gmail and Google News are fruits of non-commissioned work by Google staff. Twitter has periodic hack weeks, during which its employees are encouraged to work on any fun projects, outside of their normal job schedules, that they have in mind. When organizations carve out time for non-commissioned work by their employees, they create small islands of autonomy, which will help their employees act on their ideas and make their downtime productive. Key point 9. Compensation. Get it right and move on. No Type I organization wants its employees focused constantly on their compensation. It demotivates, stifles creativity, and negatively impacts the organization. The better approach is for the organization to get its compensation policies right, once and for all, and then get it out of sight. That way, its employees can take the focus off their compensation and place it on their work. An organization can do this in 3 ways. It can ensure its compensation policies are fair internally and externally. Internal fairness means every employee is paid similar to his or her colleagues, while external fairness means every employee doing a specific type of job receives compensation that compares with what other employees of other organizations who do similar work receive. It can choose to pay its employees more than the average they deserve to earn. A research carried out by 2 economists, George Akerlof, a Nobel laureate, and his wife, Janet Yellen, in the mid-1980s showed that organizations that pay their employees a little above the market-determined compensation are able to attract better talent, reduce turnover, and increase productivity. Also, the employees' morale gets boosted, and there is a reduction in operational costs. Lastly, it can create a performance appraisal system that has a wide scope, has the right mix of relevant metrics, and is impossible to game. Key point 10. Collaborative parent-teacher approach for Type I kids. Kids start out in life as curious, self-directed Type Is. Along the way, the bulk becomes disengaged, compliant Type X's due to their school and home environments. For instance, schools focus their lessons on routines, right answers, and standard ways of doing things. In an era in which the global economy requires non-routine, creative, and conceptual ways of doing things, parents, on their own part, employ classic, if-then rewards to keep their kids motivated to study, offering them pizza for reading their texts or an iPod for showing up regularly for their classes. Overall, kids are being bribed into compliance instead of being challenged to engage. There are a number of ways to turn the tide. Kids' homework can be designed in ways that will help teach the kids the Type I concepts of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. School or family vacation days can be set aside for kids to explore as they try to solve a problem or actualize a project. DIY report cards, benchmarked against class teachers' actual report cards, can be experimented with. Kids can be encouraged to be autonomous if parents give them allowances and a free hand to spend it as they deem fit. Praise to kids could be offered under the right set of circumstances, and for the effort and the hard work they put into the challenges they face, not necessarily on their success in surmounting those challenges. Kids should be taught to understand the bigger purpose of the learning they do. Lastly, teachers should be kept motivated to do their jobs by raising their base salaries to levels commensurate with the importance of what they do, and those who are not able to meet minimum standards of impact should be eased out of the system. Conclusion. Motivation 3.0 is all that matters in a world we live in today, and that fact has far-reaching implications for the quality of life we live and for the effectiveness of the society we live in. Motivation 2.0 used to be good enough for us, until that point in time when we as a species had evolved it. The earlier we come to terms with this truth, the better for us, for the corporations we run, for our societies, and for the human race as a whole. Try this. Open source is now the way we organize what we do. Do you agree completely with this? Can you see open source at work in society? In the way the government is organized? In the shared economy, in education? What practical steps would you take to create a Type I personality out of a Team Type X person? What practical steps would you take to create a Type I personality out of you?
Summary complete. Please take a moment to rate it so we can help you grow in the best way possible.